So, good morning everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming, Pak Pri, all lecturers, and I got two students, one gear is going up. Later on, they would like to help me to share. In today's, first of all, thank you very much, Wayan Eka for this opportunity, and also all the team from CETL. I really appreciate to have the opportunity to share what I have been done actually in class during this time. And I bring up the classes that I have a lot actually. That's a composition, which is very basic for that. I named my presentation as Navigating the Labyrinth of Academic Writing for EFL Students. Just now, Pak Budi has discussed about accounting, which sounds for me it's very complicated. But labyrinth itself, if you see that here, it's quite complicated also, right? So I start with, because labyrinth is an analogy, so usually that when we discuss something that we would like to try to see that from several aspects. Now, I kind of like to have a look from two dictionary here that you have two types. The one is Oxford Advancement, that's a British dictionary. They said that a complicated series of paths, complicated, which is difficult to find your way through. The second one, this is American, Merriam-Webster's Dictionary. Labyrinth said that something extremely complex or purchased in structure. Complex, yeah. Complicated, difficult, but when we get in, when we immerse with that, to some extent find out the way it's enjoying. Yeah, it's something. Well, especially if you're successful with that, then it's really satisfactory. So this is what actually I would like to share from this labyrinth, the word labyrinth. Now, talking about compositions, as you know that, students who just, for example, accomplish their high school and then coming join us, some of them speak English very good, but there are some language barriers that they still have. When we talked about something academic, of course, there are some limitations in the vocabulary, grammar and syntax. Many of them confuse to construct what's so-called by simple sentence, complex compound sentence, yeah. So that's, we would like to work a lot. Also reading comprehension issue. The other one, what is interesting actually, as I said before, many of them speak English very good. But when it comes to writing, they will write down spoken language, mostly. So that's the challenge there, yeah? So in terms of the styles, formality, and organization of academic papers. Okay? And finally, lack of familiarity with academic conventions. Yeah, colon, full stop, semicolon, capital letters. That's something. And I always mention that these kinds of exercise is not like Loro Jongrang project. We cannot do that in one night. So it's impossible to ask the students to work with their compositions only for example, 1 or 2 days. So it's always really need a process. So what I do actually, besides building a strong foundation related to the language aspects with the students, what I come up with is actually cultivating a writing community. And this is what I would like to share a lot today, and also later on inviting two students to share what they have done, what they have experienced in class, especially related to peer collaborations and feedback, and later on among them sharing success stories. So how certain students did something good and also share that to their peers in this case. Of course, integrating technology is also another good point. Yeah, so later on I can also share something which is related to that. Okay, so basically from the process that we have, yes, because this is writing, of course it should come from very basic, which is, for example, brainstorming ideas and also come up with the outline. First drafting, Yeah, so this is also, of course, that they have learned, for example, like learning from the constructing paragraph. But here later on they come up with an outline of an essay and then start draft that. Now, peer editing, yeah, until they go with the revising, editing, proofreading. Then also comes to me, give suggestions from the instructor, and they come up again with a certain process of revising, editing, as well as proofreading. Now, when we talked about corrective feedback, especially that not only from teachers, yeah, what we learn a lot actually, that sometimes they learn something good from their peers. Not all of the answers probably come from the instructor. So that's why corrective feedback is something like that's become the key academic skills. Yeah, let them to think critically, understand better, come up with the analytical reading. So in terms not only about format, but about the idea, how the students work with that. Also help them to improve their proofreading skills and dealing with kinds of like feedback. Feedback is not only something that, okay, because later on I'll show you there are some questions. I also provide kinds of like guided questions for students to go through, but more to that is actually the students can come up with what they have understood, and yes, something that they can improve through learner directive feedback itself. Okay, so this is parts of the corrective feedback that we come up with. Well, one theory in terms of feedback that I try to go through is actually go with, we call that rise, yeah, from bottom to up, which is from the first is about reflect, which means that to recall or ponder and communicate. So in this case, it's the process where the students, for example, they start to find out some information, they learn that from their peers, and then probably come up with the questions later in the inquiry, seek some informations, provide ideas. So giving feedback is not only saying, okay, something is wrong, something is not acceptable, no, but sometimes they need to write down, if I were you, I would like to write down my, for example, topic sentence, thesis statement like this. I also provide that kinds of information, and then we go with the suggest, and finally, of course, then what is important, we need to acknowledge, we need to come up with a better degree of improvement after, for example, identifying what is good, and then something that they need to kinds of like improve from what they learn from others. So this is basically the framework that I use in order to invite the students to join with the process of feedback itself. Now, this is one examples of guided questions that I come up with the RISE model. Yeah, so for example, check whether essay formatting is correct. So this is a guided one. So the students will check that. After that, probably they can share, okay, the format is good, but what is more to that? So that's a kinds of like other suggestions. Check for punctuation, capitalization. So this is a kinds of guided that, again, as a preliminary information for students to start with their peer corrective feedback. Of course, later on, there are something that they can add. Technology. Before I go to, I invite the students, we got three. Yeah. Thank you, yeah, Kathleen, also for coming. We've got Padlet is really good, of course, for brainstorming. Lots of Google technology, especially Google Slides for collaborations. Yeah, Google Docs a lot, and some other technology from Google. Of course, Canvas is being used. Sometimes I come up with the quiz in Canvas, and also group quizzes in class, yeah, for example, knowledge checking. Mendeley, this is also what I share to students to help them, even though sometimes they have to also check again, read again. Not all of the system, not all of the application is 100% perfect or something, but we have to, but it's good to learn from the referencing system. Of course, video presentations and also direct presentations, and then later on I will share you some of what they have done with the presentations. Now, this one, even sometimes I provide or introduce kinds of like corpus linguistics. It's not because of challenging them to be kinds of like students in advanced masters or PhD, no, but basically what I want is to bring awareness. All this process should be like this. For example, with the corpus linguistics, then they can identify, oh, this is the productions of my academic vocabulary. Oh, actually my academic vocabulary is not enough, or probably something is too much. Technical terms, for example, too much. Or, for example, there are some others. At the moment, I am still working with Scribo. I learned Scribo probably like something that I can use to describe. I haven't shared that actually to the students, but still on my own. Scribo is also another kinds of application provided by AI. You can identify actually, for example, in terms of, well, I mean the word being used and also the concepts of the students that they can discuss. So this is the examples of Scribo. They will give us kinds of summary in terms of the grammar, something which is vocabulary, something, all of this that I will later on. This is, I'm working at the moment, but somehow then there are other terms that I also try to use in order to bring awareness that the students can kinds of like, okay, this is the questions, probably like the questions about AI, how I adapt AI. So again, then it's okay to use AI, but we put that in the process. So from the outline, from drafting, then we can understand to some extent that students use AI. It's not just about copy and paste on that, but again, they have to kinds of like get the idea, but later on produce them into their own sentence. Otherwise, that is not interconnected from the idea that they have. This is one example of the work. Again, that if we just write down something, then, or if we just read something, this is, well, I mean that quote that we have learned. If we just read, probably then we understand about 30%, and then if we kinds of listen and then also watch on that, probably better. But if we write, for example, about 70%, that if they present what they have learned in class. So this is what I did. What we did actually last semesters with Composition 2. Yeah. Two of them actually would like to share their experience to attend this activity. Giving them opportunity to share what they have learned. It's not only about the process of writing, but also the idea, the critical thinking, and also the way they work in class. Okay. So pretty much like that. Now I would like to invite the students to we have 3 students here. That one from Composition 1, we just finished last semester, and 2 from Composition 2, yeah, who can share actually something that they learned in class with me. Gil. I think Sela and Kathleen, you can come forward also. So Gil at the moment from Faculty of Education, yeah. Sela from Faculty of Business, and Kathleen from Faculty of Science, Engineering and Technology. Yeah. So 3 different faculties. Go on.
Okay. Okay, so for me, composition 2 is not something that is quite difficult. In reality, a lot of composition 2, especially like expectation, talks about dragging meaning out of a particular story, about a particular poem, right? So for me, I've done a lot of that during high school. A lot doesn't mean in school, a lot actually means at home every morning. So that to me is not like difficult. But I see, as someone from the Faculty of Education, I saw that, yeah, some students are more challenged than others. Like, this is not something that is their bread and butter. People from the Faculty of Business, people from the Faculty of Engineering, right? To them, they would never think about poems like ever in their life after composition finished. And I saw how it's interesting that a simple thing like peer reviewing just simply helps them think. The way that they would pour their ideas in, although some of them, yes, eventually some of them just said like, oh yeah, good work. To me, that's, yeah, that happens a lot. But all in all, I think that with peer reviews, with all the steps that Sereka takes, it doesn't just give out writing an essay as a what do you call it, as a product. We don't just, Sereka doesn't just look for the product. If we only just look for the product, then what is there to achieve? The students can just easily go to ChatGPT these days if we really want a product. But Sereka wants us to learn about the process, how to draft, how to create outlines, how to revise, and how to revise others. To me, that's the amazing part of this composition class, and that's how anywhere that it is applicable, we should continue on with that process-based learning.
Okay, so I'm from composition 1, so it's like basic essays, argumentative and descriptive essays. But I first struggled a lot with it in the beginning of the semester because it's completely different than high school, obviously, right? And I find it really difficult to read journals because it's boring. But Mr. Eka helped us through every step of the writing process. And I think one thing I value most about Sir Eka is his constructive feedback because it's actually helpful. And it's like, I know where I need to improve with in the sections of the essays. And I can take that feedback and make better essays. I also really enjoy the peer review activity because I can see my peers' writing style and I can implement some of that writing style into my essays, which grow my academic writing skills. Yeah, I think that's all for me.
Hello everyone. So similar to Gio, I never found composition 2 that challenging because I used to have a background in literature as well, so I really enjoyed reading poetry. Even right now, after composition 2 is over, I still read poetry, I still apply all the analysis techniques that Sir Eka has taught us into my reading of literature. And what I really love about Sir Eka's teaching style is not only does he implement peer review, because through peer review, I can also not only know what Sir Eka is thinking about, but I can also know what my peers are thinking about when they see my writing. So I can also apply it from their point of view, and the more point of view people get, I think the more our horizon will broaden. And moreover, I also enjoy how Sir Eka implements things such as, one time we had to make a video presentation, and other times we had to make posters, and I really enjoyed that engaging aspect of Sir Eka's class. So the students will be more engaged, and he also gamified these activities that he did in class. So let's say the best video gets a prize, and I think that's what helps the students be more engaged in Sir Eka's class, and why we really love going to Sir Eka's class all the time is because we actually get to not only learn something, but we are also doing it in a more engaged and in a more fun way that can also help us build teamwork and make new friends in our class. So yes, Sir Eka, thank you for being our teacher, sir.
Well, again, the message is actually this one. Yeah. What I would like to bring here is actually help the students become aware what is right with the target language. So then the process of learning again is not just only something that okay, they come to class, they sit, and then they listen, they get grades and finish. No, I hope that that's become something that they can bring again in the future, also for the rest of their career. So then something that they still remember, not only from the class, but also from our institution in general. Thank you very much for 3 of you. So basically that's all from me. This is the work cited that I work, and I'm writing a first draft and reminding myself that I'm simply shuffling sand into a box so that later I can build a castle. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eka, for a very inspiring session. So I'm going to open question and answer session. drop to Eka.
Silakan, Butika.
Eka, this is interesting because we talk about the constructive feedback, and you also implement the peer review. The peer review one, I have already also implemented in my class, but about the constructive feedback, can we also implement in what we call science class or math class? Because it's a related feedback that related to the qualitative one, right? Can you give some, how to say it, the information and suggestion. Perhaps I can implement later about the constructive feedback in my class.
Thank you very much, Butika. I'm thinking about the process when learning in Pak Buddhist class in accounting. Yeah, I imagine I kind of like remember a moment of learning accounting long time ago in SMI, because I took article of it, it's social, and we learned accounting. Now, in that class, again, then in order to go with a certain calculation, of course, there are some process, and sometimes, while even the teachers explain something in front of the class, but it takes time to practice. So these kinds of process, these kinds of practice should be shared. I mean that probably one student have their own certain way to go to certain conclusions. The answers is okay correct, but the way to go there may be different. I don't know, probably I'm not an expert of science, probably something that we can do like that. So sharing, number one, what I believe with the students, they are not coming to class as an empty class. They have something already. That's why we can share something, but sometimes we can learn from them. So then they can also share that from others. I remember I asked Sheila how many students that I asked you to read for 3 or 4, yeah, because by doing that, it's not only, okay, not only sharing for one, but also kinds of like sharing for others, and also strengthen his or her own knowledge about a certain content. Maybe like that. So,
Thank you,
yeah, I hope that helps. Thank you. Any other?
But
Go on, Patrick.
after you apply this all the activities, how was the result of, let's say, the composition itself?
I would like to ask the students to answer then. What is the result, do you think? One thing I believe,
I don't
Patrick.
care about A or B or C, but from your perspective,
Yeah, this is what I believe, Patrick. I always say, I think the students can say, I always say that everyone deserves to get an A, but you have to prove that through that process. And I really appreciate someone who keep improving. But I want to improve, I want to work during the time. Okay, and I really appreciate that. So that's why, again, they kind of like enjoy for that process, and until they understand for that, and at the end they got something for them to bring home. So that's,
I mean, the process was successful,
Yeah.
enjoyed by the students, and also they feel learning.
yeah,
Like-
in general, yes,
Yeah,
but
in general.
even though, I would like to say even though, not all students also enjoy peer editing. Some of them say that, stop peer editing. I can see that from one comment, yeah. But that's okay, I mean that, but in general, these kinds of process, I think we can share, we can do a lot, and many of them learn, yeah. But one, two, because probably then their background, they usually kinds of like, okay, one shot, write down something, and then correct it, finish. They are not familiar with working again and again about certain process of learning. So that's the one. But in general, yes, but I kind of like confident and I feel good with all the process.
So you can say that his process result in good product.
Yes, this is a good product. However, again, then technology is improving, right, Pabri? So that's why working with Scribo or any other method, this is what I always mention to the students. What do you want to be? Do you want to be an experienced teacher? Means that, okay, I've been teaching for 25, 30 years, instead of being professional teachers. Professional teachers would like to think, what can I do in order to inspire the students this semester, maybe it's different, a little bit different from the one that I shared last semester, but this semester's come up with something new issues, new topics to discuss, new method. Even though it's like in general, but the way to deliver that should be like different activities. For example, this year I'm gonna use like poster presentations. Next year, what else then? So something else that I can also keep thinking and keep imagining to make the class not only efficient but also meaningful.
Thank you.
Okay. Any others? Yes, go on, Ibu.
Maybe you can share to us how did you avoid the subjectivity when the student do the review process, and decided how did you help your student to give constructive feedback to ideas?
Okay, so the one subjectivity is, I think I can share that through this guideline. So when they start doing feedback, it's not just all about something that they learn. I give them general guidance, what to do, because these kinds of questions will direct them to know what to do, what to kinds of like how to start the peer or collective feedback itself. Of course, then later on, because there are two, so one thing that they can write down comments on their peers' paper, and this is something that they can write down separately based on these guided questions. So that's why if they want to kinds of like say something, parts of what they think is good, for example, I think your title is not really about argumentative essay. If I were you, I would like to write down my title like this, my thesis statement like this. They can write it down in the paper. While overall, in order to achieve what we do in peer editing, through these guided questions, I think will lead them to come up with something which is more objective rather than subjective. Okay, any others? Okay, if not, thank you very much.
Let us give applause to Paika.